With this watercolour of Hollyhocks, I have soaked the paper again, both sides and the board. Because it's a vertical composition, it's a little harder to fit it onto the camera screen. So I'll be looking at the sort of top half and then the bottom half. In Hollyhock, the most pale colour is the centre, at the centre of the flower, which is a sort of vibrant yellow, perhaps cadmium yellow and a little lemon yellow mixed together. So there's that colour radiates or graduates out from the centre and sort of blurs away. It's dirty. Try to stop that from forming a hard edge. So that colour again just disperses away from the centre. So while this is wet, that colour will continue to disperse or travel. So an impression of these yellow centres to start with, and to catch that before it dries, just let the colour travel outwards. So the yellow is a little more vivid at the centre and then slightly paler further out. Each petal has a sort of direction on it for the transition of the colour. So I'm hoping this will stay wet long enough to paint most of these centres. And it's quite heavily recessed. These are saucer-like flowers that are very three-dimensional, going back into the centre, and it's difficult to express that without putting darker colour on. So that will be shaded in the top part of the flower. So a hint of yellow in this one behind. Well, that flower is behind and the others in front. A more vivid yellow. And there is a pink colour which is, I think, a mixture of permanent rose and lemon yellow, produces a soft pink, remembering that these colours will dry quite a lot lighter. It's always useful in watercolour and oil painting to have variations of colours. That's a little bit varied.
Okay.
Just blurring the colour and dragging it. Variations of colour. So that transition, one colour sort of abutting onto another in wet, really is the best combination of mixes. So the colours aren't really dragged into each other, they merge or blend, and then the colour will sort of leach out. So this upper part here is a little more intense, and I might try and put that in while it's still wet, while the flower is still wet, and just let that colour bleach or run outwards. Something there, there is shadow, but I can't put detail on at this stage. So there's more shadow up there. And more light. I'm going to vary this colour a little bit between the lit part and the shaded part. So this is in shadow, rather lit here, slightly different colour. Well, pink, almost pure permanent rose. Try and get those colours to merge a little bit. And just let that continue to diffuse at this point. Let's go back right up here and come to this central section. So what tends to happen is the paper will start to dry from the edges, and I've just got to try and stop that from happening by re-wetting, particularly corners and edges. Re-wet. Let's go back and have a look at the pink colour at the top of the flower here. Now I'm looking at the transition between yellow and pink, which forms a sort of shape echoing the roundness of the flower. So 2 brushes. So bright pink, brighter pink or lighter pink, maybe in the lower part of the flower. It's a very pale pink. And then the upper part of the flower is a more deep colour. And that's using less water. Like that. There is a green colour on the shadow over yellow, and that's something that I'll maybe put in later. That's the different pinks I'm going to use. Lighter pink. Try and get that to blend around there. Lighter pink in the lower part of the flower. So that sort of curves around the shape. Let's lift that off. Almost pure permanent rose. And then a stronger pink higher up. Just going to let that merge outwards, let it just drift outwards, these blushes of colour. Try and stop this from drying. So this is in shadow here. That will benefit from drying off more. And then I can put this sharper edge. This one is behind. And yellow is not very apparent. So there's a little bit of overlap. There. Pink. And the different pinks. So a lighter, purer pink there. Permanent rose. Let's zoom out a little bit. Push this up. So I'm trying to paint this lower flower. Again, this outer part of the circular saucer shape is lit more, and the top part is shaded more. So let all those colours run a bit. Keep switching brushes. Lighter pink, or the pure pink rather, permanent rose. Something like that. Continue to let these colours disperse. That will be pure pink there. They're actually really a pale flower, so on white paper that's a little hard to represent. That is very light there, that is also very light. So I think that's enough of an impression of that. Re-wet, again it's drying out, so I just re-wet the edges particularly. Re-damp those edges. Yep. So I'd like to try put a little bit of green into this. That would mean lifting out on damp. I'm going to lift out these buds of flowers. Try putting in some of an impression of the green on wet. And all these colours vary, so that this isn't a consistent colour. It is a sort of colder green, mostly. So that bud is it's just got a little bit of pink showing in it. Just there. Pink, just there. And there. Some of these are about to open, these flowers. I should have a bit of pink on it. I'm going to put light touches of green here and there, not everywhere. is a slightly duller green with a little pink mixed into the green to make it a little bit quieter, less bright. Let's put a little bit of green there. Mix that with the red slightly. This is difficult. I'm just going to put a little bit of green where I can, but avoid it mixing with the pink too much. So the paper is now damp rather than wet, and that's better for this purpose. And some of these buds are more yellow-green, not so blue-green. The stem is more blue-green. So the colour spread should be a bit more limited being on wet. I'll do a bit there. Definitely more yellow-green over here. Just come off the edge of that, produce a little green, leave the pink halo. These are opposite colours, so they will make brown given a chance. Left out, a bit more pink. And then yellow at the back, green, I'm going to continue with this impression of pink and green colours before letting this dry.